Hi folks, I'd like to begin with a few graphs this week that spell out the shocking case of drugs in America and how many people they're killing. It's tragic and the problem is only worsening. According to the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 106,000 people across the country died from a drug-involved overdose in 2021. That's the last year for which there is available data. This is graph one. Look at the takeoff from 2019. What's the main driver? Well, here's graph two. These are deaths involving synthetic opioids other than methadone. So, primarily, fentanyl. 70,601 deaths reported in 2021. Look at the takeoff of the grey line from 2014 when stacked against all other drug deaths. The yellow is meth. Orange is cocaine, then comes other opioids and heroin. Fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid that is FDA approved to treat severe pain. It's cheaper and it's easier to obtain than heroin and is often cut with other drugs. The National Institute on Drug Abuse warns it's 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. A lethal dose can be very small. Where's it coming from? A few different countries, including China, but mostly Mexico. We'll get to that in a second. This is how the Biden administration is defending the steep increase in deaths that have occurred on Joe Biden's watch.
Because of the work that this president has done, because of what we've done specifically on fentanyl at the border, it's at historic lows, historic levels that we have been able to record a number of personnel working to secure the border because of what we've been able to do. Seizing that fentanyl, we've done it in a historic way. That's because of what this president has done. I just talked about 23,000 federal agents that have been able to be, that we've been able to hire and put at the border to secure the border. On top of that, historic sanctions going after traffickers and other financiers are helping disrupt fentanyl supply.
Historic lows? Secure border? Whatever notes she's reading off aren't the right ones. According to the government's own websites, fentanyl trafficking offenders have increased by 460.7% since 2018. The DEA claims since at least 2019, Mexican cartel supply to the US fentanyl market is increasing. Adding, Mexican cartels are the greatest drug trafficking threat to the United States. They control most of the US drug market and have established varied transportation routes, have advanced communications capabilities, and hold strong affiliations with criminal groups and gangs in the United States. This should be one of the highest priorities for the US government, and so it's already become a focus for White House challenges. Fentanyl use has soared while Biden has been in power, but its increase was underway in the Trump years. He's vowed to go back harder by sending special forces into Mexico and conduct cyber warfare operations to cover the actions of cartel leadership and its operations.
The drug cartels are waging war in America, and it's now time for America to wage war on the cartels. When I am president, it will be the policy of the United States to take down the cartels, just as we took down ISIS and the ISIS caliphate, and just as, unlike the situation we're in today, we had a very, very strong border, the strongest border, in fact, in the history of our country.
Trump is so serious about it, he previously considered sending missiles into Mexico to strike the cartels. This was his former defense secretary speaking to 60 Minutes last year.
The president pulls me aside on at least a couple occasions and suggests that maybe we have the U.S. military shoot missiles into Mexico.
Shoot missiles into Mexico for what?
He would say to go after the cartels. And we would have this private discussion where I'd say, Mr. President, I understand the motive, because he was very serious about dealing with drugs in America. I get that. We all understand. But I had to explain to him, we can't do that. It would violate international law. It would be terrible for our neighbors to the south. It would, impact us in so many ways. Why don't we do this instead?
You politely push back on the idea. Did President Trump really say no one would know it was us?
Yes.
Trump's Republican challengers are also on the front foot here. Ron DeSantis wants to go in all guns blazing.
And so, I think you need adequate rules of engagement so that, if someone was breaking into your house, you would repel them with the use of force, right? But yet if they have drugs, these backpacks, and they're going in and they're cutting through an enforced structure, we're just supposed to let them in? I say use force to repel them. If you do that one time, they will never do it again.
Meanwhile, Nikki Haley wants the cartels to be named as terrorist organisations, something Trump says too.
We absolutely should name them as terrorist organizations. If you look at the fact we had enough fentanyl cross the border last year that would kill every single American. And the cartels, if they're not trafficking drugs, they're trafficking people. Either way, what they're doing is terrorist activity, and we need to deal with that. We don't want cartels coming into America. What good is that? Our job is to protect America first.
Recently, victim support group Families Against Fentanyl unveiled an open letter to the Biden administration urging illicit fentanyl be formally declared a weapon of mass destruction. But as Fareed Zakaria said on the weekend in an opinion piece for The Washington Post, the use of military force might play well locally, but it would be an act of war against Mexico. This kind of rhetoric is a gift to Mexico's populist president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, who will use it to gin up anti-American nationalism in his country. And he pointed out it won't work, using Afghanistan's drug trade as an example of American military failure. The problems in Mexico would be even greater. Large areas of no man's land where the cartels operate, massively funded and armed militias, and many ways to shift production across borders, Zaharia continued. If an answer was easy, it would have been found by now. These failures involve successive governments. Just taking a cartel down doesn't stop it. You cut the head off a snake here, simply grows back. But something has to be done as a matter of urgency to reverse the trend of those graphics I started with. What government in their right minds would find that many deaths acceptable? And what does it say for the future if that's allowed to happen? Thanks for watching. To support this channel, please like, share and subscribe below. See you next week.